Let's play a quick game. 3 statements. 2 are true, 1's a lie. Ready? 1. Bananas are berries. 2. Goldfish have a 3-second memory. 3. You can't breathe and swallow at the same time. Think about it. Which one's the lie? If you said goldfish having a 3-second memory, you're right. That's a myth we've been fed for years. In reality, goldfish can remember things for months. But why did so many of us believe that lie for so long? The truth isn't always as obvious as we think. For centuries, philosophers, scientists, and scholars have wrestled with what truth actually is. Is truth just what matches reality? Is it what makes sense in a system of beliefs? Or is it simply whatever works best in a given situation?
Now with former President Obama taking on fake news, except turns out it is not really President Obama.
You can claim that truth is being mass personalized, but most people would live in their own truth bubbles.
Conspiracy theories are so powerful because they also provide a certainty and they provide a narrative. It's a story. And as humans, we really want stories.
So they call it free speech, I call it the free market of speech. But they're making money off people's speech, whether it's good or bad.
You might be wondering, does this even matter to me? But in today's world, where fake news spreads faster than facts, deepfakes make people say things they never did, and social media keeps us in bubbles of our own beliefs, truth is up for grabs. We live in an era where what feels true often wins over what is true, and that's dangerous. Because if you can't tell the difference between reality and a well-packaged lie, who's really in control of what you believe? And how do we even find the truth anymore? All right, let's be real. Truth has a marketing problem. Think about it. What spreads faster? A long, carefully researched article explaining complex scientific data? Or a 15-second TikTok confidently claiming scientists are lying to you?
Stop believing what teachers, scientists, and the news and the NASA and the government tells you.
Yeah, the lie wins every single time. So what's wrong with the truth? Why is it so bad at keeping up? Maybe it's because sometimes the truth sounds just as unbelievable as a lie. Take these headlines. One of them is completely fake. Can you guess which one? Scientists have trained rats to drive tiny cars for treats. The Amazon rainforest now produces more carbon dioxide than it absorbs. Researchers discover a new species of snake that can survive being frozen for weeks. Well, the problem is, whether it's real or not, it all feels the same. In an endless stream of headlines, fact and fiction blur together, and the truth, slow, careful, deliberate, gets drowned out.
So one of the paradoxes is that false and misleading information is much more likely to be shared than real and accurate news. And you think, well, why is that? Well, let's think about gossip for a second. If I'm gossiping with a friend, am I going to gossip something kind of dry and factual, or I'm going to gossip something sensational?
I mean, it can be the most outrageous, the most exciting, the most interesting bit of information. And because of that, it will travel quickly. Because information travels more quickly, or it goes viral, because people find it interesting, or it has certain emotional triggers. And we know that, for example, information that's going to make you laugh, or information that makes you angry, or outraged, or scared, is information that travels quickly and is more likely to go viral.
Disinformation isn't a new problem. It just got a tech upgrade. Back then, all you needed was a printing press and a wild imagination. Today, AI deepfakes, bot-driven propaganda, and misinformation algorithms are doing the heavy lifting. In a study on explainable agency, researchers found that people overwhelmingly preferred the simple, clear-cut explanation. even when the complex one was more accurate. Because, let's be honest, nuance is annoying. Nobody wakes up in the morning thinking, you know what I want today? A complex, multi-layered explanation with conflicting evidence and no clear conclusion. And that's how we get
disinformation is false information that is produced on purpose to manipulate or harm someone.
Governments have been telling lies throughout history, and authoritarian regimes do it, but democratic regimes do it. I would say all governments lie. That's a given. Obviously, digital technology has changed the way we lie because it's changed the way we consume information.
It's much easier to ask people to be skeptical of everything they see or hear or watch, rather than asking them to only trust this source and that source, because people have seen many of these trustworthy quote-unquote sources being manipulated by their own states to sell them ideas such as the invasion of Iraq.
Their refusal to do so will result in military conflict.
To give you an example, one of the classic elements of propaganda is, for example, if you have a war, then one side will say that the other side, they want to convince people that the other side is more brutal, more barbaric than them, right? So how do they do that? Well, they say things like, oh, the German soldiers in World War I were killing babies. They were beheading babies, right? Or stabbing babies with their bayonets.
The Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, or CISA, responsible for safeguarding election infrastructure, stated, "There is no evidence that any voting system deleted or lost votes, changed votes, or was in any way compromised."
You know, when you think they stole the election. It was just, they walked in, they said, "You're out."
Were there voting irregularities? Yes. Do voting irregularities happen in every election? Also yes. But was there widespread coordinated fraud at a scale that would have changed the outcome? No.
Fight for Trump!
But here's the problem. The election was stolen is a simple, emotionally powerful statement.
The ability to produce and consume propaganda and misinformation has increased dramatically in the past 100 years, but particularly in the past 20 years, and even more so since the beginning of the smartphone.
During that week was actually rumors, false news, and that's why I was really concerned about the effect social media is having on kind of consumers of news.
A comprehensive study by researchers at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology analyzed approximately 126,000 stories tweeted by 3 million users over more than a decade. The findings? False news stories are about 70% more likely to be retweeted than true ones. Moreover, these falsehoods reach 1,500 people 6 times faster than accurate stories. The study found that humans, not bots, are primarily responsible for the rapid spread of false news. People didn't just believe the lie, they wanted to believe it. Because beyond politics, beyond the facts and figures, the lie had something the truth often lacks: a story.
I think drama is such an important part of our humanity and how we function that whenever we hear stories that are more dramatic than the ones that are boring and predictable, we tend to be affected or to like and be attracted to the more dramatic ones compared to the other ones.
Unfortunately, that's why conspiracy theories are so powerful, because they also provide a certainty and they provide a narrative. It's a story. And as humans, we really want stories. The truth is that in reality, we don't know. And as humans, we hate not knowing. We hate uncertainty. We hate ambiguity. So when I'm being told, can you just wait a bit longer? We need to do more research on something, versus the government is coming up with a secret plot, I'm much more likely to want to believe that, because that makes me feel like, oh, that's an answer to my queries. That's an answer to my confusion.
Tonight we are learning more about the bird flu and what it could mean for humans. The first human bird flu death.
In early 2025, as bird flu cases surged across the U.S., a viral video began making waves on fringe platforms featuring a man identified as the inventor of mRNA technology, claiming the outbreak is nothing more than a manufactured hoax, engineered, he alleges, to push another round of vaccines.
Causing economic disruption, etc., using fear of infectious disease, this promoted fear, which is what we're absolutely seeing right now with bird flu.
Despite its realistic appearance, this narrative is false.
People are rightly concerned because it is a terrible disease. It's my job as a farmer to reassure people that we're doing everything we can and that they are safe from this disease.
A study analyzing tweets from X, formerly Twitter, over 5 days in June 2024 found rampant mis- and disinformation regarding the causes and prevention of highly pathogenic avian influenza. Among the loudest narratives, the idea that the bird flu wasn't real at all, but part of a so-called plandemic, allegedly designed to sway the 2024 US presidential election.
It's impossible to know which were the first false claims, right? There's been so many. I would say that there are certain narratives that are really common, right? The most profound, I think, claim was that this bird flu is going to be the next COVID. It's going to result in a lockdown, definitely. That was one of the big claims.
When we started hearing that there were bird flu cases, there was this kind of moment of panic because everybody was like, oh my goodness, is this going to be the next pandemic? What does that mean? Should I be going to farms or not? Or should I kiss a farmer? I don't know. But we also saw people saying, well, maybe I should stop eating eggs. Maybe if I cook chicken, maybe even if I eat cooked chicken, then I could be at risk.
I do that, the bird flu or even COVID, but bird flu was a hoax. This follows a very common pattern of conspiracies, which is that everything is a hoax.
The impact of misinformation around the bird flu crisis was immediate and tangible. Shaken livelihoods, disrupted operations, and mounting stress for workers already under pressure.
Where an avian influenza bird flu situation is occurring, you do have to make decisions quite quickly. And sometimes if the farmers don't have the correct information, the wrong decisions can be made.
The poultry industry faced significant losses due to both the outbreak and the spread of misinformation, leading to increased operational costs and decreased consumer trust.
Egg farmers and producers, they're very concerned about the bird flu. In fact, they're saying, this is just a quote, that the virus is a terrorist.
If our chickens catch this disease, we can't process them, so obviously we can't sell them. And if we're not selling them, we're not making any money. So it's a huge financial cost to us as a business and to individual farmers that catch it, because you've effectively lost all of your income from that flock. And in some instances, businesses can't recover from that and will go bankrupt, unfortunately.
Panic buying, fueled by misinformation, led to worsened egg shortages. In Connecticut, for example, egg prices jumped by $3 from December 2024 to February 2025, reaching a record national average price of $4.95 per dozen in January 2025.
Egg prices, they're still up 60%.
So how did we get here? For most of history, truth had bouncers. Institutions, journalists, scientists, historians, educators stood at the door, checking IDs, verifying facts, making sure the information that reached the public had at least some level of accountability. Sure, the system had flaws, biases, blind spots, but there was an understanding news had to be sourced, stories had to be fact-checked, claims needed verification. Then came the internet. The floodgates opened. Suddenly, everyone had a microphone. That anonymous Twitter account with a frog avatar, same reach as a major news network. Your uncle with strong opinions on Facebook, now an authority on epidemiology. Information became instant, unfiltered. And with that, the battle for the truth was no longer about facts. It was about speed, engagement, and virality. And nothing spreads faster than fear.
The thing about social media is, as ever, it can be exceptionally positive and powerful for good.
Meta ran an experiment once where they were trying to see, for example, they classified two groups of content. They had good for the world content, which was stuff that they thought was like not disinformation, it was truthful, it was interesting, it was important, and bad for the world content. So like misinformation, disinformation, harmful information, hate speech, whatever. And they discovered that people were more likely to spend time looking at bad for the world content. right? And so they had a choice. Do we alter the algorithm so it shows less bad world content? Or do we, not do that? And they decided not to intervene too much in negating the bad for the world content.
Studies confirm this dynamic. Researchers at USC found that social media's reward system trains us to share sensational content for likes and shares.
I describe social media algorithms as like the invisible hand. I mean, we heard about the invisible hand of the market, but algorithms are like the unaccountable, invisible curators of information. Algorithms decide what we see. They decide what we see, when we see it, for how long we see it, who we see, what information we see, right?
Misinformation today isn't only a byproduct of confusion. For many, it's a cash crop. Entire industries and cottage enterprises thrive on disinformation and conspiracy content. It turns out that lies can be quite profitable.
They make money. They like to say that they, as companies, are the town square, the public square that they allow freedom of speech. But you cannot have the town square be a public space if it's not owned by the public. It's a private company. So that a town square can't be privately owned, right? So they call it free speech, I call it the free market of speech. And what do I mean? Well, they're making money off people's speech, whether it's good or bad.
In fact, the online misinformation industry is booming, raking in an estimated $2.6 billion per year in ad revenue from unwitting major brands.
He tells us that he's made upwards of $60,000 creating bogus news headlines.
In 2016, teenage trolls in Macedonia famously made tens of thousands of dollars churning out fake headlines, such as "Pope endorses Trump," because the ad clicks were so lucrative. Today's misinformation peddlers have only gotten more sophisticated. There's now a commercial disinformation industry, PR firms for falsehoods.
They have lots of different names, reputation management companies. And the company will come in and say, okay, we've got some products for you. We can do a number of things. We can create thousands of fake social media accounts. And we can use these social media accounts to spread propaganda about your enemy, but also propaganda about how great your country is, right? And we've seen plenty of examples of this throughout history.
This is Tal Hanan, the mastermind behind Team Jorge, a covert unit that specializes in hacking and disinformation.
In 2023, an undercover investigation exposed an outfit nicknamed Team George. This secretive group of Israeli contractors ran a global disinformation for hire operation. For a hefty fee, they boasted they could manipulate elections, sabotage businesses, you name it. Their tool set? Hacking, digital sabotage, and bot armies on social media. Team George claimed to have interfered in 30-plus elections worldwide. In one instance, they created fake whistleblower videos and forged news to smear a political candidate. Essentially, disinformation has become a global export product.
I call them personalized truth, because if we lived in different truths, if everyone in a society lived in a different sort of truth, people would not feel injustice because they would not have the knowledge about each other's lives.
It's tempting to think misinformation is just bad information that can be deleted or corrected. But as we've seen, it's woven into the very fabric of how our online ecosystem functions.
What we want is more friction. We want more interventions from platforms which slow us down. I want to be reminded, are you sure, Claire, that you want to share this? Are you sure this is true? And I'm probably going to be like, you're right, I don't. And then I'm going to, move on without sharing it. We want those kind of interventions. We need more media literacy. We need more fact checkers. We need more flags and labels. None of that is censorship.
For example, the Russian news site. Does anyone have anything on that?
In Finland, media literacy isn't an elective, it's a national defense strategy. Schools teach kids how to dissect headlines, question sources, and recognize bias.
It's already fake because it says that it was 10 years ago in 2013.
They learn that just because something feels true doesn't mean it is true. The result? Finland consistently ranks as one of the most misinformation-resistant countries in the world.
Media literacy is actually one of the most exciting ways that we should be thinking about tackling misinformation. We need to engage young people in the creation of these courses so they actually stay relevant and they're interesting.
During the 2020 pandemic, New Zealand didn't just tell people, don't spread misinformation, they made hilarious, shareable videos poking fun at disinformation. And it worked. Instead of lecturing people, they made the truth engaging. And that made all the difference.
At 2 minutes, please. I don't want to breathe your COVID if you start to wheeze.
One notable initiative was the collaboration with the comedy show Wellington Paranormal to create a series of short videos addressing COVID-19 guidelines. Episodes featured characters humorously navigating pandemic-related scenarios, such as reminding citizens about social distancing by showcasing officers dealing with a zombie who wasn't wearing a seatbelt. This approach not only entertained but also reinforced public health directives in a memorable way.
You don't need to worry about ghosts. They can infect you, they don't have bodies.
So what we have now is a new kind of research field around pre-bunking. So pre-bunking is how can you talk to people before they see the misinformation? And by doing that, does it actually prime them to be ready? And does it make them more likely to think critically about the misinformation?
Researchers have discovered something fascinating. If you expose people to small doses of misinformation tactics before they encounter the real thing, they become far less susceptible to falling for it. It's called inoculation theory. The idea? Teach people the tricks of misinformation before they see them in the wild. That way, when they do, they're already skeptical.
So it's a bit like warning somebody about a financial scam. Say, hey, if you get an envelope in the mail that says this, you might want to be careful. So it's the same kind of mechanism. And what the research shows is it's a much more effective way of making people kind of wake up a little bit and less likely to believe misinformation when they do see those same rumors.
One of the best examples is the online game Bad News, where players take on the role of a disinformation creator.
There's this gamified solution. It's a game where you pretend you're an influencer, right? And you have options to spread information that's truthful about COVID-19 and vaccination, or information that's false, right? And when you do it in this game, if you spread the truthful information, you don't get as much engagement or followers. But when you spread the false information that's harmful, you get lots of engagement and followers. And you play this game, and it's only about 15 minutes, but they've done studies now that show people who just play this game for 15 minutes already demonstrate a more critical and resilient nature to disinformation.
All right, let's put your truth detecting skills to the test. If we're going to rebuild trust in facts, we first have to train our brains to question what we see. Remember those 3 headlines in the beginning? Scientists have trained rats to drive tiny cars for treats. The Amazon rainforest now produces more carbon dioxide than it absorbs. Researchers discover a new species of snake that can survive being frozen for weeks. Are you able to guess which one is fake? Before you lock in your answer, think critically. Got your pick? Ready for the reveal? The answer, headline number 3, is fake. No known species of snake can survive being frozen for weeks, at least not yet. Some reptiles enter a state called brumation, a hibernation-like slowdown, but full-on cryogenic survival? Still a sci-fi fantasy. But here's the real twist. Headline number 1 is true. Researchers at the University of Richmond actually taught rats to drive tiny cars made from plastic food containers, demonstrating the animal's ability to learn complex tasks. Headline number 2 is also true. Recent studies published in the journal Nature reveal that parts of the Amazon rainforest now emit more CO2 than they absorb due to deforestation and climate change, a dangerous reversal for the planet's lungs. How did you do? Fake news thrives on making the unbelievable sound just believable enough, and making the believable seem outrageous. So if truth is out there, but buried under misinformation, emotional manipulation, and viral deception, how do we make sure we're actually finding it? Maybe the better question is this: are we really seeking the truth? Or are we just after the version of reality that makes us feel the most comfortable?